Question time. RB Roughnecks. Got to get it right. RB Roughnecks. And, I like some of these simple nuts and bolts questions that don't require a 5-minute response. Watch, I'll now do a 7-minute response. How much equity in an NFL team do you need to have team control? Could I own 10%, but as long as no one else owns more than 9%, I have the legal right to control it unless they vote on a managing partner. Here's the current rule. You've got to own 30%. You've got to buy 30%. You've got to show up with cash equivalent of 30% when you buy the team. And what you can do is you pay for the 30% without loans, without anything else. You can line up investors for the remaining 70%, but you can run the team with the 30%. Now, there may be exemptions and exceptions, like there's a family, like if you have the whole family, I think you can get to 30 with a family. They've tried to make it easier for individuals to afford teams. But some people are rich enough that they just show up and buy the full 100% of the equity and it doesn't matter. Others, I think like with Josh Harris, they had to actually send out prospectus to try to convince investors to get involved. And they have a patchwork of many minority owners who are operating under Josh Harris's minimum of 30%. So it's 30%. It can't just be, I have the most of a smattering of, 50 investors. You've got to have one person that's got 30%, but there could be changes made as the values of the franchises keep going up and as it becomes harder and harder to find people who have the money to buy teams. And again, there's no guarantee it's a good person. There's no guarantee it's anybody who knows a damn thing about football. There's no guarantee they're going to run the show in the best interests of the fans. It's just the person who had the most money. That's the only test. Do you have enough money to buy the team? Callum Simons, do you think you'll watch any of the World Cup next year? Also, will they change the surfaces back to artificial turf after they change them to grass for the tournament? Yeah. Well, look, of all the stadiums that are bending over backwards and putting in grass to placate FIFA and comply with the stringent exacting requirements of international soccer, as soon as the soccer tournament ends, bye-bye to the grass, hello to the fake stuff, whether it's MetLife Stadium, Atlanta, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium where the Falcons play, AT&T Stadium in Dallas, any of these facilities that play on artificial turf. As soon as the last soccer match is over, it's bye-bye to the grass. And I'll probably watch some of the World Cup. I probably will. I want to see how the fields perform where it's not naturally grass. There are complaints that we've seen. The Club World Cup that is either over or has been happening. There was some criticism about the turf, about the pitch at MetLife Stadium. It was more like a putting green than a soccer pitch. Got to get all those terms right. So, yeah, I want to see how it goes. I want to see how the place where football is king absorbs the World Cup 32 years after the last time the World Cup was in the U.S. And it was a big deal the last time. And I paid attention to it then. I like soccer. Every once in a while, I'll fire up the old FC 24, the EA version of the soccer franchise that used to be FIFA. Every once in a while, I'll play a game. I'll get my ass kicked, but every once in a while, I'll fire it up while I'm on the bike. When, if I'm playing Madden and I'm doing the Ultimate Team and I'm playing online and there's no good challenges to do and I've got about 15 minutes left in my hour of riding and it's not enough time to play a full game of Madden unless I get the guy to rage quit or I rage quit, I'll fire up and play a quick game of soccer. I like soccer, and the World Cup should be interesting next year for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is how will the American stadiums that otherwise have grass, how will they do with the turf, with the grass that they're putting in to replace the artificial turf? All right. Missy Davis, curious as to your thoughts on the process of roster cuts from 90 to 53 in the absence of preseason games. What would be the best way for coaches to evaluate talent and players to have an opportunity to self-evaluate their likelihood of making the team, joint practices, etc.? This is an outgrowth, I assume, of my belief that at some point in the future, maybe distant, but I think inevitable, there will be 20 regular season games and no preseason games. So yeah, the league will have to come up with other ways to get teams ready. And at the end of the day, the owners don't care if it's harder for the coaches. They don't care because, I was talking about this, I think yesterday, hell if I know, about the World League. And, it was great opportunities for players to develop. The owners don't care because at the end of the day, there's going to be 53 guys on the team and there's going to be 11 on the field. And it's for the coaches to figure out who the best players are and to get them ready. And if the teams aren't ready, well, they're still going to play the games and they're still going to cash the checks. And it doesn't matter if they're more ready in October than they are in September. So first of all, I think those numbers, 90 and 53, will be higher if and when there are 20 regular season games. By the way, Big Shield, available for pre-order in both paperback now and ebook at Amazon. It envisions a not too distant future where professional football, not the NFL, please don't sue me, professional football, which just happens to have teams in all the cities where the NFL does. It's a coincidence. It does envision that future of 20 regular season games and no preseason games. But there's also a larger roster, not 53, I think 60, something like 60. And you got to have more than 90 to get down to 60. But I think both of those numbers will be larger, and it's going to be for the coaches to figure it out. Joint practices, scrimmages, maybe they'll find other ways to make money, but they're going to make the bulk of their money from the 20 regular season games if and when that time comes. Patrick Mullen, this is the question I was referring to earlier. Let me make sure I get this right. Got to scroll down. Okay. Hey, Mike, Dolphins state-run media has been going to the wall defending Mike McDaniel, stating it's impossible to run a tight ship these days. Is that true? The Harbaugh brothers, Tomlin, Vrabel, McDermott, Campbell, and many others seem no-nonsense, old school, and are successful. Now, I don't know when you refer to Dolphins state-run media, are you saying that this is what's being pushed by the Miami Dolphins official website, or is it just, the folks who cover a team who become defenders of the team and fans of the team? And it drives me crazy that people who cover a team behave like fans of the team in their coverage of the team. Part of it, I think, is pandering to the audience because you don't want to be person who covers the Dolphins and is perceived as person who hates the Dolphins, because then they'll go get their content somewhere else. I remember when I was in law school and I subscribed to Viking Update, which always showed up too late to be useful. Like, it always arrived the Monday after the next game that was to be played when the issue was printed. But I still read it, and I remember they had a column that was just trolling. It was trolling before trolling. A guy named Dark Star would write this column about how bad the team sucked, and I would get so pissed off, but I loved to read it every week. But I hate that guy. Why do you hate the Vikings? And it was all trolling. So I don't know that works. I think that fans would rather have the pandering. You can have the pandering with a dash of trolling if you're an outlet that covers only one team. But regardless, I see some of the stuff on social media, the blogs, the websites, the reporters who cover the team and only the team. I take a broader view. I have the benefit of a wider lens. And the idea that it's impossible to run a tight ship is bullshit. Okay? Of course you can run a tight ship. Mike McDaniel's not wired to do it. The fundamental problem with the Dolphins is they were too far to one extreme with Brian Flores in the Belichick hard-ass school of coaching. And when they moved on from Flores, the pendulum swung too far the other way. Now they got players coach who does not run a tight ship, has not run a tight ship, as he admits. Too many guys are late. Too many guys aren't, properly focused. There's a middle ground there that McDaniel either needs to find on his own, and hopefully the players will respond. I don't know that they will, but maybe he can get them to do it. Or they're going to have to hope that the next coach falls somewhere between Flores and McDaniel. So yeah, it's possible to run a tight ship. But again, this is what happens in July. As we're anticipating football season, we want to enjoy football season. We want to convince ourselves that our team isn't going to suck this year. The reality is, with 32 teams in the NFL who play each other, 272 games, there's a winner, there's a loser, barring ties. There will be good teams, there will be crap teams. And some of those 32 teams who are currently 0-0, whose fans are getting themselves all juiced up for what's to come, by Halloween, they're going to know it's over. And they're going to have to find something else to do to fill the hours from, the start of Thanksgiving season, the run up to Thanksgiving, those couple of weeks where you're anticipating the day of gluttony, and then right into the Christmas season. Like it really is fun. Those months are fun when your favorite NFL team is good. When your favorite NFL team is ass, it's no fun. The reality is, unless Pete Rozell's dream comes to fruition and everybody's at 500 until the last week of the season when all the playoff spots are determined and none of them are clinched ahead of time. That's, there's always going to be teams that are done. Put a fork in them. You can start putting a fork in teams usually by Halloween. And the Dolphins, they could be one of the teams that get forked by the time you go trick-or-treating. Last one, RB Roughnecks. Who's the next NFL team getting sold, and do they relocate? And as Gary pointed out, there's a little Dr. Doom quality here. I wonder if the Saints will be bought after Gail Benson's passing / possible sale and move to a different market. Now, look, we all acknowledge the reality that we're not going to live forever. And for the owners of NFL teams, there is a point where the natural lifespan will conclude. I don't know what the plan is post Gail Benson. I haven't heard anything about it. It could be the team gets sold. Sometimes when an owner passes, the team gets sold. I don't know that the Saints would relocate. The NFL is not going to want to abandon New Orleans. New Orleans has been through a lot with that team, and I think the team and the city need each other, and it would be horrific for the NFL if the Saints were to leave. You can make a team work in any market nowadays because it is the TV money that is the primary source of the revenue. You could make a smaller market work. So, look at the stadium that they've had for 50 years now in New Orleans. How many stadiums has Atlanta been through? The Saints keep finding a way to renovate and update and modernize the Superdome. And the Superdome is a great place. I mean, yeah, the press box is scraping the roof, but I don't care. The last row inside the stadium is still better than the first row outside the stadium. And I love being there for the Super Bowl. I think it's a great town. I think it's a great stadium. So they could be sold, but I don't know why anybody would move them. And yeah, at some point they may need a more permanent stadium solution. Hopefully they can figure it out. We know that's getting harder and harder because public money may not be as prevalent. And as I say that, boom, this state does a deal and that state does a deal. I mean, I still think at the end of the day, even as the taxpayer mood is against it, still seems like the money's there. So the next team that will get sold, to answer the first part of the question, it's going to be the Seahawks, I think. Unless somebody just decides out of the blue to cash out, and I don't rule that out as these values keep going up and up, Jody Allen will be selling the Seahawks at some point. She has no deadline for selling the Seahawks. She had no deadline for selling the Portland Trail Blazers. She is in charge of her late brother Paul Allen's estate, the Microsoft billionaire, multi-billionaire, and she has been liquidating his holdings over the past, 5, 6 years, 7 years almost? I think he died in 2018. So the Trailblazers were put up for sale not that long ago. The Seahawks at some point will be put up for sale. And the values of these teams keep going up and up. And the people who will benefit, the charities who will benefit from the return that the Seahawks bring, the delay, they don't have the money now, but boy, they're going to get a lot more later. Eventually, Jody Allen's going to sell that team, and there's going to be a ton of money that goes to the charities that Paul Allen chose to support. All right, that's it for this Tuesday edition of PFT PM. I'm going to get back to quarterback. If there's anything that I see between now and tomorrow, it may be a topic for Wednesday's PFT PM as we're getting closer and closer to the start of training camp, but it still is kind of slow. So We'll have plenty to talk about. And if it's only 15 minutes tomorrow, so be it. I have a feeling, though, I mean, that's one of the things I've learned from doing this for so long. You can talk about anything. You really can. You can filibuster. I could do it. I could have done the 25-hour Cory Booker thing if, I had a diaper on. I don't know that I could have gone 25 hours without answering nature's call, but I definitely could have come up with something to talk about for 25 hours. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.